revealed ruins of a Roman bridge from the 1st century.
The Pons Norrenianos, which at the time was the only bridge crossing that part of the Tiber, may have been the bridge that St. Peter himself had crossed to his martyrdom.
That is Nicholas Temple, Senior Professor of Architectural History at London. No shade, because it turns out that the instinct to talk to babies a certain way or sing to babies a certain way is just about universal. That's according to new research published in the journal Nature Human Behavior. Researchers collected the voices of 410 people from 21 societies around the world, both singing and talking, and they found striking similarities in the way people talk to babies.
Oh, sweetheart, it's okay.
Joining us now to tell us more is Courtney Hilton, one of the 2 lead researchers from the study. He's now at Yale University's Haskin Laboratories. Courtney Hilton, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
So where did the idea to do this research come from? And then, of course, I want you to tell us what made this study so remarkable.
So the idea for doing this at a large scale really came from an emerging sense in many sciences that study humans that we need to go beyond just studying Western cultures. And for the case of these infant-directed vocalizations, people have studied this in Western and urban societies for many decades at this point. But we don't really know that much about how that varies across societies, and being able to understand whether this is common across societies might give us clues as to whether this is something that has links to our basic biology as humans, or whether this is something we are enculturated into through interacting with other people in our culture.
So you mentioned that this is believed to be the first international experiment of this type, studying voices around the world, all these different kinds of societies. Did you find anything interesting comparing, say, geography or social position?
So there are, of course, differences in how people do these vocalizations. Humans are complex animals, and our behaviors are shaped by all sorts of things. But one of the interesting things about our study is, for example, we had recordings from both an urban part of Poland, for example, in Krakow, as well as a rural part of Poland. So we were able to make at least some comparisons. And even though that there were slight differences here, on the whole, there wasn't much of a difference. People still engaged in the same sorts of vocalizations. They still raised the pitch of their voice. They spoke in a more sing-song-like manner. The biggest differences we did see in terms of how people made these vocalizations was that some Western societies, so say for example our Canadian society in Toronto or our New Zealand society in Wellington, people from these societies raised their pitch the highest amount, and in some of the remote societies, so for example the Achua people in Ecuador, in the Amazon, they didn't change the pitch of their voice that much, but they did still raise the pitch of their voice.
If this is universal, to your knowledge, or what you're finding out, this is so universal, there seems to be that there has to be a reason for it. Do we have a sense? Like, why do we do this?
Some theories suggest that the way we speak in this way accentuates the vowels of the speech and helps babies learn speech. Other theories suggest
clear, sharp, and jolting. Large regions of the world are becoming unlivable, she says. Lethal for 3 to 5 billion of us. We can survive, but to do so will require a planned and deliberate migration of the kind humanity has never before undertaken. Her new book, Nomad Century, How Climate Migration Will Reshape Our World. Gaia Vince, the award-winning science journalist, joins us now from London. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
One of your early startling sentences says, quote, "We already know which communities will need to relocate by 2050. That's just 28 years away. I have to ask who needs to move and when.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking, isn't it? But if you look at the climate projections and if you look at our globe, temperatures are just going to become too hot, unbearably hot for parts of the year. sea level rise will cause too much erosion, huge extreme storms. You know, we talk a lot about climate mitigation, about trying to reduce our carbon emissions. Well, climate change is already with us. And now we're starting to talk about adaptation, about changing the way we live to adapt to this much hotter world. Well, what we're not talking about is that for huge numbers of people, there is no way to adapt. They're going to have to move as well.
You also write, migration will save us because it is migration that made us who we are. But wasn't that in centuries when people were nomadic and lived off the land?
Yeah, well, exactly. I